on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition here of Bronx Talks. We're joined with Pete from NYY Underground. How we doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Still waiting for some Yankees news here. And look, if you need any proof that we're living in the Matrix or a simulation, Pete has been on this channel one other time before, and it was 2023, December 11th. And the title of that video and the whole premise of that video was the Yankees targeting star Japanese pitcher Yamamoto. Obviously, it turns out to carry the Dodgers to a World Series, but here we are now in 2025 talking about another star pitcher from Japan, Tatsuya Imai. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's start with the Luke Weaver news. What was your reaction to that? I just laughed.
I'll be honest, man. I feel like there's a part of me that I had no reaction at all. I mean, really, like it's weird when it's weird when you hear about Mets news and Yankee fans and Mets fans react so much regarding whoever makes a move. I'll be honest with you, man. I've always kind of had the Derek Jeter mentality where I'm like, they're just the Mets. Like I really, and it's not even a knock on them. It's just I don't care. Like, it's kind of funny because I think what is it now? The last three closers, if you take out Bednar that we've had, are all now on the Mets. You had Weaver, you had Devin Williams, and before all those guys, you had Clay Holmes. And all those guys are now New York Mets. And it seems like I guess there's the potential now that Weaver is going to be a starting pitcher for the Mets. So that's
was legit. I couldn't tell if that was funny rumors or.
Yeah, it could be, but I'll be honest with you, with them doing it before, it wouldn't shock me if they tried it again. And I do know that Weaver, to be fair, he did say that he would like to be a starting pitcher again. So I don't know if maybe that was something that was promised. I guess we'll find out and see what happens. But yeah, no real reaction from me. I don't really care.
I agree. I was actually surprised because I think it was yesterday that the report came out that the Yankees were, in on Weaver. Yeah. And I was kind of confused because we haven't heard anything about it. Brian Cashman even said in one of his press conferences, I think it was after Williams left, that he kind of referred to Williams and Weaver as being gone. So I was I think it was pretty clear it wasn't coming back. Just funny he ends up on the Mets, and who knows what's going on there.
Another one bites the dust heading to the New York Mets. I mean, we're gonna almost build their entire roster at this point. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I made a TikTok right before we came on here telling them that they should go out and go pick up DJ LeMahieu, Hicks, LeMahieu, Marcus Stroman, and if they want to poach Aaron Boone from us, go ahead. We'll
please, I'm down for that. That'll be something I would react to. Put it that way.
Yeah. I think maybe in a positive way. I guess let's start with the bullpen since Weaver's not coming back. So I think, at least my impression going into the season was the offseason, the Yankees weren't spending big on relievers. That's just not something that we've really seen them do in recent years.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't like too concerned when Diaz started to go off the board, Rogers, those guys, even Weaver, Williams. How do you think the bullpen looks, though, right now? Because we do have Bednar, and I guess might be the first time in a while that we're confident going into the season with our closer.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a work. They got work to do, obviously. I think nobody can sit there and say the Yankees pen right now is what it's going to be. The one thing I will give Brian Cashman credit for and the entire team there is that they do tend to figure out a way to make the bullpen work. So very much early on paper, you may look at it and go, no, we don't, there's not much there. And let's not act like the Yankees bullpen is garbage. Like there's still good arms in that bullpen. Now, do we have a hard throwing lefty reliever? No. Would that be nice to add? Of course. Would it be nice to add another guy that throws 100 miles an hour? Yeah, of course it would be. But right now, I could honestly sit there and say, I don't think the Yankees bullpen is a major concern just because there is a bit of a track record there with Brian Cashman of putting together a pretty decent bullpen. So I give him a pass on that. I think eventually we will look into the year. And again, here's the thing about a bullpen. The bullpen's never what it is when the season begins
Yeah.
anyway. So you'll have the deadline come up. You'll have, call ups throughout the year. Some guys that maybe are starters that convert into the bullpen that maybe pan out very well. So the one thing, again, I'll just touch on it one more time. They do seem to figure things out when it comes to their bullpen. I give them confidence in that. So it's not something that keeps me up at night.
I agree. I think that's probably the one area in terms of roster construction that you can kind of say, all right, Cashman, go trade for a few guys.
Of course.
Who was the Rule 5 one?
I forgot. It's funny you say that, but I forget his name. The last name is a strange kind of name, but I was actually looking into him recently. I could see why they like him. I could definitely see why they like him. I have to try to look him up real fast, but I forgot the last name.
Yeah,
But
we probably saw similar stuff because there were people kind of diving into his metrics and different tunneling, his pitches, with apparently he has a lot of upside. Bottom line,
he looks like one of the guys that the Yankees can definitely Cade Winquest.
yes,
Cade Winquest is who we're talking about. So yeah, if you watch him, I mean, he got nasty. He does got nasty stuff. There's no doubt about that. Good breaking ball, high fastball velo. So again, somebody that the Yankees do tend to find, and they do tend to get a good amount out of him. So he's one of those guys that you want to keep an eye on.
yeah, and I mean in terms of the rest of the bullpen, Duvall, I expect him to have a somewhat bounce back season,
Yeah,
but he does give me the same, Chapman sort of vibes where he's probably going to have a stretch in the middle of the season where he starts to blow up and he
no
becomes
doubt.
unpitchable. So, not the most reliable guy. Jake Bird, he was someone that at the trade deadline, I actually thought he was going to be a factor last year. Turns out,
Yeah.
never even really saw the major league roster. But I feel like Yankees got him for a reason. And I bet he's working this offseason in the labs. I think he could be a legit piece next year. I mean, I just don't see why the Yankees would have got him from the Rockies. He was already, like, the month before the Yankees traded for him, he was horrendous.
Yeah,
They had
yeah,
to have saw something that they were going to say, all right, we could work on this, or,
yeah.
we could add a pitch or something like that. And I have the same logic with McMahon, to be honest, too. I think they believe they can turn him into a better hitter.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Bird is that when the deal happened, there was a lot of people that were saying this guy's just burnt out. Like he's been used way too much. He's absolutely burnt out. And you kind of saw that really early on with his, like you said, the short tenure with the Yanks. But I really believe the Yankees are probably hoping he doesn't even pick up a baseball for a while and he's just taking time off and kind of recovering from all the heavy workload he's put in. But again, they got him because of that nasty slider he has. They got him because he gets swings and misses. And
Yeah.
that's exactly why they got him. If he could be a guy that's able to come out of that bullpen, dominate right-handers, that's something the Yankees are going to utilize, no doubt about it. And yeah, if you're looking at a bounce back candidate out of the Yankees bullpen, he's got to be one of the top dogs you're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you look at the bullpen, Tim Hill, he's going to be able to get outs, very effective against lefties. And
Been very good with the Yankees, best of his career, you could say.
yeah, and I wouldn't even limit it to righties. Obviously, you're not bringing him in with a righty lane, but he's
Right.
not one of those lefty specialists where it's like, you got to get him out as soon as a righty
Correct.
comes up.
Correct.
Cruz, we'll see if he can repeat what he did. And
Year
then
older. He's a year older too.
year
So
older,
hopefully,
yeah. And it also
hopefully he
did
can.
felt like he got figured out a little bit towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
The splitter or whatever it's called just lost that bite almost.
Yeah. Yeah, long year for him. Great guy. Absolutely, absolutely love Fernando Cruz. And he's a guy again that you'd probably I don't want to, this is a guy who I think pitched last year at 34 years old. So he's getting a little bit up there, kind of really found his magic and what works for him, put it all together. Great deal for the Yankees, by the way. I mean, we know, the Trevino deal. He came over that way. A lot of people didn't even talk about it. I remember when it happened, I went live immediately because I knew about Fernando Cruz already. I knew about the strikeout potential he has.
Yeah.
And I knew the Yankees needed that. They needed to add that. And I don't think he let anybody down. I think Fernando Cruz was very, very good last year. I agree with you that, towards the end of the year, he did kind of slow down a little bit. Like you said, teams do make adjustments, and they may have started to make those adjustments. The splitter wasn't as sharp. But again, he's a guy that adds a lot of value in their bullpen. Now, It's like you said, is Doval that guy to lead the Bednar? Is it going to be somebody else? Do the Yankees have a trade they make? Does it come later in the season? Is it one of the young studs they have in the minor leagues that comes up
Yeah.
that is maybe coming in late, throwing 100 plus miles an hour? But it's possible. The Yankees got a lot of different avenues for the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, this, I guess, will kind of transition to starters, but the biggest guy that I really want the Yankees to get is Michael King. And
Okay.
obviously, he'll start this season in the rotation just because of how injured they are going to be to start, April, May. But, I mean, was the Yankees' bullpen not, like, at its best in recent years, 2022, 2023, when we had him as that long man? I
Yes.
just think it's such having a guy like that can give you, not just an inning and a third inning and two-thirds, a guy that can go multiple innings, give you 3 innings, give the entire bullpen a rest some days
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
still, be in games, not just punt. They were missing that. They didn't really have that. And maybe Ryan Yarbrough is going to be that guy,
Or
once
WinQuest.
he gets pushed to the
They think
bullpen. But
WinQuest. Yeah, they think WinQuest could be that role too. That's the main thing they kind of talked about is be that guy that could maybe give them 2 or 3 innings. Now again, there's no evidence behind that he could become that guy. But when you talk about King, here's the question I have, right? It's really simple. One, what does Michael King want? Does Michael King would he want to go back to a role like that where, every now and then maybe the Yankees get all their starters back and they look at King and say, "Hey, you've done this before. Let's put you back in that role." Again, here's a guy that when the Yankees made the trade for Soto, he was the Cy Young candidate in the National League. So I don't think this is a guy that maybe wants to jump back into a role like that. And then the other thing you got to think about is are there going to be some teams out there that are going to give him more money to pitch for them? Two of them that's been rumored is Baltimore and the Red Sox. And I'll be honest with you, I think both of those teams need him more than the Yankees do.
yeah,
And that's not a knock on Michael King. That's the fact of the matter is that both of those teams need more starting pitching than the Yankees do. And they might be a little more desperate to pay him more money. There's rumors he wants 5 years. I don't know if the Yankees do that for a guy that's been injured as much as he has. And I'm with you. I love Michael King. I would not be upset if the Yankees sign him tomorrow. Wouldn't be upset at all about it. He's been here, done that. When the guy is healthy, he's dominating. Problem is he more of a want from a team like Boston, which he said he'd be happy to play for, or a team like Baltimore, who's doing a lot this offseason and looking to add to that?
yeah. And, also maybe he wants to go back home to Massachusetts.
Exactly.
I would be surprised if the Yankees get involved in that bidding war. I mean, my personal opinion, I think he's a Red Sox.
I
Even
agree.
more of a reason, though, why maybe you should go the extra mile and try and bring this guy back because you don't want him in the division. Nonetheless, the Red Sox. So we'll
There's another
see.
free agent. There's a, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but there's another free agent that would be my mentality for
Who?
Bo Bichette. But we could talk about that. I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we could definitely talk about that.
Let's talk about Bo Bichette. I was listening to, I think it was last week, you were talking about this on one of your
Yep.
streams, how Brian Cashman, he had his quotes that we are way too left-handed,
Mhm.
and we all know that, yet he is unwilling to even, talk to Bo Bichette, Alex Bregman, and I get it with Bichette. His defense is terrible, right?
Yeah, it is.
You would have to find a suitor for Volpe. You're not just going to give him away.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, there is flexibility. Bo Bichette did say he was willing to move positions. And whether you trade Jazz or not, you also have third base. I mean, I guess not now that you have the Rosario McMahon platoon.
Yep.
They could have found opportunities for either Bregman or Bichette. So I'll let you talk about that a little
Look,
bit.
yeah, I'm about as realistic to this situation as you can get. I've never just said go get Bo Bichette because there's no concerns with Bo Bichette. Of course there is. Everybody knows the defense, and I've also never been one to say if you get Bo Bichette, just give him 8 years and say here's shortstop for you. No, that's not the way you go about it. You want to be smart about it. Brian Cashman also stated that the Yankees may have to make some challenge trades. I always see it as creative trades. He
Yeah.
used the term challenge trades. I think we understand what he's coming from there is that it's going to be obviously something that could hurt to make a deal to make your team overall better or more balanced and the roster balanced a little more. When Bo Bichette came out there, my understand so originally when I talked about it, I said, give him shortstop for a year and then move him to second base. That's your answer. Instead of paying Jazz, you pay Bo and you put him at second base. So as the rumors started to then pick up that maybe the Yankees are going to listen in on Jazz Chisholm and see what a deal like that could be, I'm sitting there going, okay. I mean, this kind of fits the bill of this challenge trade, right? You go out there, you add a Bo Bichette. You say, hey, look, we want you to become the second baseman. You'll immediately play second base and we'll go from there, right? We put you at second base. You take over second base. You go ahead and then move Jazz. I don't, and again, I don't know what you're moving for. I'm not even talking about this is something I'd want to do. I like Jazz. I like Jazz a lot. But you got to find balance in your team. You got to figure out something that would actually work. And let's not forget here, a lot of people talk about Bo Bichette and they immediately just go to defense. Nobody wants to talk about this is one of the best right-handed hitters in the game. Nobody wants to speak about that all the time. Nobody wants to talk about this guy's one of the most clutch players in all of baseball.
Yeah.
We got a guy on our channel, Scotty Wright, who has been so phenomenal when it comes to talking about Bo Bichette. The guy's career average or runners in scoring position is about 330. I mean, this is a guy that in the World Series had one leg and he hit a home run in game 5 over Otani. That was a huge moment. Oh no, game 7. I'm sorry, game 7, not game 5. Game 7 hits a big home run, gives his team the lead. Will look great that day because he steps up in the moment. The Yankees need a player like this that gets on base at a great clip, has a high batting average, puts the ball in play, and is a gamer. I'm not going to sit here and say that Bo Bichette is a great defender. He's not. There's no metric that says this guy's a good defender. He's not.
Yep.
But do we believe that he's going to get worse at second base or he'd be slightly better at second base? And we don't know how good he will be at second. He could be much better. He could be an average or above average. We don't know. We have no idea about that. But you got to become creative somehow. You got to win with Judge. Winning with Judge means you have to be creative and take risk. You can't sit there and throw Band-Aids on this club and expect to win in the AL East that's getting way better. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, it's spot on. And, like, he would get better at second base. His problem is range. Doesn't have the best arm in the world. So the arm doesn't matter. You slide him to second base. And you don't need as much range as a shortstop if you're a second baseman. So, it could work. But also, then that involves trading Jazz. And I do want to talk about this, that Macho King mentioned, that it could give Jazz a chip on his shoulder going into 2026. I look at it, and maybe this is just paranoid Yankee fan, but Jazz seems like the type of player that would not be happy if his name is in trade talks. And that worries me a little bit, whether it's what he says to the media, if it could actually affect his performance, who knows? I kind of think, and it's somewhat dependent on if you sign Bellinger, but if you don't, I think your first move is probably doing one of those challenge creative trades, and Jazz is involved, whether it's for a starter or someone, because he's your one. I think what we kind of talked about was me and Ryan, Jazz and Rice are your real value chips.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Obviously, you have a Dominguez or Jones, but if you don't sign Bellinger, they're probably playing left field.
Yeah.
And I think Rice is just too valuable. So that's where it comes, Jazz comes into play. What do you think the Yankees could get in return for Jazz? A Peralta?
Well, that's the thing, right? You'll have to, and then that's why it's smart at the end of the day for Brian Cashman to kind of see what's out there for him, because you never know what you fill. You never know what team says, hey, we'll give you so and so and 3 or 4 players. You don't know who it could be or what's available. Here's the other thing too about what you just said. And I want to throw this out there, right? Because a lot of people immediately hear and they say, okay, 30-30. This guy could be a 40-40 guy. I think everybody agrees he got that potential. But here's the thing you got to remember for the Yankees is they're building a lineup.
Yeah.
They got to build a lineup. What they've done before has not worked. And people will sit there all day and go, yeah, but they led the league in this, and okay, where do they get them? Where do they get him? Is it the best thing for Aaron Judge? I don't think so. I think what Aaron Judge needs are more, not necessarily dynamic players, and this is not a knock on Jazz, but he needs guys that are in front of him that get on base that he could drive in. Aaron Judge won the batting title last year, had 100 and something RBIs only. He's a guy that should have easily driven in 140 plus. Nobody getting on base for this guy at a high clip. Now, if you let's just say for an example, they don't bring Bellinger back, they trade Jazz, and I'll kind of talk about what that could look like. But you bring in Bichette at second base, and Jason Dominguez is your left fielder. Well, now your lineup looks very, very different. Yes, agreed. You took away some of that pop. Some of that pop may be gone. But what can Dominguez give you for a full season? We saw bits and pieces of Jason Dominguez looking like an extremely dynamic player.
Yeah.
That if anybody were to sit here and say, hey, Dominguez is 2020 next year, I don't think that would shock anyone. Nobody would sit there and be like, there's no way Dominguez hits 20 homers and steals 20 bases. No way. Well, he's starting now. So, yeah, that's very possible. But you add dynamic with him. There's different things he does. Put the ball in play, great speed. Bichette drives runners in at a great clip, gets on base at a great clip, puts the ball in play. The Yankees offense now becomes very, very different and less reliant on just the long ball. They become an overall team that is more gritty. They put the ball in play. They run more. They become a lot more like the Blue Jays. They become a lot more like a Blue Jays offense.
Yeah.
Where these guys are always having you on their toes. That might be something the Yankees need and might improve this club a lot with their pitching. It might make them a better team. Now, what they would get for Jazz, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't know. I really don't. Jazz has had his ups and downs. He's had the injury history, but he's also coming off of a great season. I think the thing that scares the Yankees and what would probably scare some other clubs is Francis from, Designated Spitters on NYYU, he put this very great. He said, I think Jazz is going to outplay himself in free agency, where he's going to ask for far too much and it's going to scare teams like the Yankees away. And I can see that happening. And I can see maybe that's why the Yankees are already sitting there going, maybe he is a guy we kind of see what's available right now. And that looks like a real challenge trade because look what he did for us last year. But in reality, he's a one-year player right now. So is it that much of a scare tactic? Is it that challenging to make a deal like that? I don't think so. I think it could be something that pays off for him. And I'm not advocating for that, by the way, because I like Jazz a lot. I really do. I like the player a lot. I'm just saying, if they did that and they went ahead and brought a guy in like Bo, well, it clears the idea of who's going to be a second baseman for years to come. You got that. That's locked. And maybe you fill in some of the holes by trading Jazz. Who knows? And you save yourself about $11 million. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and I could be mistaken, but wasn't there a report that came out too that the Yankees and Jazz were pretty far apart in terms of an extension? Or Cashman. That's the best report right there. So I think too many people get caught up on the whole 30-30 thing when, again, you have to look at it as building a lineup, and there's a good chance you could exchange Jazz and better your lineup as a whole. And I just I look at how the postseason went, because obviously the Yankees had a very good lineup, statistically the best lineup in baseball last year. But what you saw in the postseason was it got to be a problem. You can only platoon so many guys. And the Rosario signing in my mind was perfect because McMahon wasn't getting moved. He's getting paid $15 million. The Yankees traded for him for a reason. So you have kind of third base locked up. You can do a platoon at third base. You can't do a platoon at the whole, on the whole field. And, Jazz didn't even start a playoff game. What does that say? If you really trust this guy and he's really this 30-30 phenom, who cares that was it the Garrett Crochet game? Yeah.
And he's not a guy. Look, and that's poor judgment. I mean, I don't know how anybody could. I don't know how anybody could truly disagree with that. You sit down Jazz, but you play Volpe, who was already injured, and you're playing him every single day over a guy like Caballero, who was phenomenal for the Yankees in the time that he played. And that's a whole other story. But if Jazz is that guy, like you said, you're right. How is he a platoon guy?
Yeah.
And no matter what the numbers show you on a guy like Jazz, he needs to be out there. In your biggest games, that guy needs to be on the field. And to me, it's as simple as that. You cannot have a guy like Jazz and you say, all right, there's a tough lefty on a mound. Jazz can't play today. And you're right. That was been always my beef is you can't have nine guys in a lineup and you saying, hey, we got six platoon players that will go ahead and when a lefty's in, we change the entire lineup up. No, that just downgrades your whole lineup. Your
Yeah.
bench is never going to be as strong as your starters. We know that. It shouldn't be that way. Now, McMahon, for an example, I'm in Rosario, McMahon, and me are perfect. I'm not complaining about that. Now, if the Yankees were to go out there per se and they said, hey, Akamoto fell in our lap, we're going to leave Akamoto at third base and we'll figure something out here. Maybe we try to pay down some of that deal and we move him. But that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
People got to remember that as much as people want offense out of McMahon, McMahon's defense means a lot. Not everybody in your team is going to be a gold glover, nor do they need to be. But Ryan McMahon's value is in his glove. Now, I've said this for weeks now. Only thing I would change with Ryan McMahon, I go back to when Kevin Long was the Yankees hitting coach in '09, and he was working with all the left-handed hitters, and he would do that hard, soft toss in on their hands and just say, look, inside pitches, you guys don't miss them. You drive them. Ryan McMahon last year, as I'm calling games, he keeps getting inside pitches. And some reason, he just doesn't hit pitches in the zone at all. He doesn't hit them. He doesn't
Yeah.
hit them. And I'm watching this going, if this guy was just focused and they got him to say, look, man, you're at Yankee Stadium. You got to be the prototypical Yankee hitter. Drive the ball to right field. Like legitimately drive the ball to right field. If McMahon hit 215 or 220 with 20 plus homers, let me tell you right now, nobody's complaining about Ryan McMahon.
Yeah.
Especially if that comes in a platoon of Rosario, who I like a lot and I've liked for a long time. To me, that's not a problem for the Yankees. The problem is figuring out everything else and the balance in this lineup and what that's going to look like. That's the problem. Is getting a real leadoff hitter, getting a real number two to bat in front of number three, Aaron Judge. That's called structuring a lineup. They got to get better with that. No matter how great their offense was, the top of the order was still kind of strange. It was always somebody new. Trent Grisham is not a leadoff hitter. I'm sorry, he's not a leadoff hitter. I don't
Nope.
like the idea of that. I like a guy with again, the game has changed a lot. I'm old school in regards to batting lineups. Have batting average and on base percentage up top. Get guys on base for Aaron Judge. He is a monster. He's a monster. This guy can make games 2-0, 3-0 in the first inning constantly. You got to give him that opportunity though. And they have not put the right guys ahead of him. The one year they did, you could go look at his RBI total that year. There's a reason.
Yeah. And they went to
Absolutely.
the World Series.
And they went to the World Series.
Not bad. Let's talk about Tatsuya Imai.
Oh, I love him.
Francie.
Hopefully, by the way, hopefully I'm not wrong on this guy as I was on Yamamoto last time I was on the show here.
I don't remember what you said. Why? Did you say he was a Yankee?
I said he's going to be a Yankee.
Well,
So,
I mean, he should have been.
yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Look, Yamamoto has been everything that he was hyped up to be, has he not? I mean, Yamamoto has been so damn good, and I'll say this about Amai real quick. He's not Yamamoto, so people need to understand that. I've had a lot of people saying, "Yeah, but why would Yamamoto get 300 million and this guy's talking about 150?" I'm like, "Well, they're not in the same league, so to say." Now, that doesn't mean that Imai's bad, not at all. This is a
Yes.
really, really good pitcher. It's a really good pitcher. But Yamamoto's on a different level as the world can now see who this guy is. But again, as I said about him, I'll say it again. He's definitely a guy if the Yankees going to dip into starting pitching. I know there's all the talk, Jack Curry saying he believes it'll come via trade. He might make sense out of all the pitchers available via free agency. He makes the most sense because if we want to play the game here that Hal Steinbrenner doesn't have money, and so to say, not he has money, but if we're gonna play this game that Hal Steinbrenner got to be, calm with his budget and not go to 350 and all the salary talks that the Yankees are having, and you got all these expenses out there. Why not get the guy that's gonna pay for his own contract? Why not get the guy that's gonna bring Japanese sponsors? Why not get the guy that's gonna impact your bottom line? Because you don't have that. And the last time you had that, it usually works very well for the Yankees when they get a Japanese player. They usually do pretty well with us. And Imai's a guy that you can pencil in number 2 to begin the year. When everybody else is back, you could pencil in number 3. And he's young. He's a perfect fit for the Yanks.
Yeah, I don't want to botch this reporter's name. Was Francis Romero?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, there we go. So he reported today that it was going to come down, or the Cubs and the Yankees would be finalists for this guy. And I think he said there was 5 teams still in on him. Now, Imai's posting, his deadline is January 2nd. And the reason why I think this makes so much sense is because we've heard reports, and if I were to guess, Bellinger will wait until after Tucker is signed to kind of see the market. And also, once Tucker goes off the board, it's kind of a frenzy for Bellinger. Any team that wants a substantial upgrade at the outfield. And who knows where that bidding war is going to go. I think you and me are both in agreement where we have a cutoff and we think, Bellinger is not worth $180 million or 6 years or wherever it lands.
He's not worth the wait and hold your offseason up either.
Exactly. Yes. So you sign Imai, and it's going to be within the next 2 weeks. It has to be. Now you're flexible. Now you don't have to go out and sign Cody Bellinger. Now you're in a position where you can still be involved in the bidding. You can feel it out. And if it gets too high, that's okay. And that's when I think you can kind of pivot to a trade and then look to upgrade there. Because, let's be realistic. The Yankees are only spending so much money this offseason. So if they go out and sign Imai, that does lower the chances that they throw a bunch of money at Bellinger. Yeah. However, I think it makes sense, and it just sets them up so it's not a wait and pray with Bellinger. Right?
No, I agree. Man. It's funny. I've actually said since the beginning of the offseason that Amai's a guy that I'd go after, and the reason why I say it is he would be my 1A, and the reason he is because it opens up, as you said, the potential trade market for the Yankees. If there is concern there about, we don't have the money to spend, we don't want to go to 340, we don't want to go to 350, we don't want to do none of that. Now the Yankees can, but them saying, we don't want to, we're kind of basing it off of what they've, the tea leaves they've put out there. If they wanted to go that route, then again, you got a lot of names in the Yankee system that become very attractive to other teams. You're talking about left fielders, right? Stephen Kwan has been a name that's been mentioned quite a bit. And maybe the Yankees can go that route for one of their starters and a few others in a deal. Bullpen help, whatever it might be, you'd have the easy opportunity to go ahead and make a move or make some additional trades. Bellinger, again, man, he's just not the guy to die on the hill for.
Yep.
I'm sorry. He's just not the guy to sit there and say, you know what? Let's go ahead and we'll wait. We'll put everything on hold for this guy to make a decision. The Yankees want him that badly. I would say, look, apparently they don't want to go more than 5. I tell Boris straight up, here's the deal. Here's the date. If that skips, hang on, delete our number. We're not looking to make a deal. We'll move on.
Yep.
And Imai is definitely that type of guy to move on to. Now, what Francis Romero said is pretty interesting because what we've been told about is that when there are finalists, he may then do visits. So we're going to wait and see on that. Like you said, it's not like there's a lot of time to waste here. So those visits are going to have to take place sometime soon. And that is going to be something where that deal has to come together very quickly. Does he even do visits? There was also rumors that he may not even do visits. He may just decide on a new club. So we don't really know yet. But again, man, to start a year with Fried and Imai at the top of the rotation, and on top of that, again, business sense. It makes business sense for the Yankees to get back in the Japanese market. That is exactly what they should be doing. And he's young. He's 27 years old. Nasty slider. Throws a split every now and then. 2 different changeups that helped him a lot against left-handed pitching. But again, a guy that sits 94, 95, but can hit 97, 98. Just nasty stuff, man. And, he would certainly give the Yankees some chips to make deals with.
Yeah, and Cashman, you literally said it, that we want to get back into the Japanese market. And this guy is saying that he wants to take down the Dodgers. It makes a little
Love it.
bit of sense, maybe a little bit more than a little bit of sense. I do, and also like look at the Dodgers because some people might say, well, the Yankees' rotation on paper when healthy is really solid, and that could
Yeah,
work. The
yeah,
Dodgers have probably 7 or 8 high-quality big league pitchers, right? It's never the worst thing in the world to have too much pitching. What I do
agreed.
wonder though is if they sign a Mahi, how much that opens the window with trades, in terms of young starting pitching. You'd like to think then, they might start shopping Cruz with how high his price is. Do you think the Yankees would ever shop Schlittler right now or no?
I mean, it really depends on what it is. I think anybody could be available because again, you just go back to the term challenge trades, right? That's another one right there that people be like, "Oh my god," but what do you get back? And who would be a player that would be out there that's actually available that we know of that Cam Schlittler should be in a deal for? That's the thing you got to ask. There's really nobody available right now that has been confirmed that they're being shopped that you would want to potentially trade him for.
Yeah.
Um, Skeens isn't going anywhere. We know that. There's the potential of Scooble, but you got to remember with Scooble too. Even if the Yankees and them had conversations, he's 1 year. He's
We'll
1 year
we'll
in a
get him next
massive
year.
contract. That's what I'm saying. He's 1 year in a massive contract. Do you simply just say, you know what? It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it right now with our rotation already being what it is, especially if you bring Imai in also. Like that doesn't necessarily make sense. There Fernando Tatis is the wild card, but again, there is no evidence whatsoever that Fernando Tatis would actually be moved, and I don't believe he does. But he's the guy right there that if I'm in charge, everybody's available because of it's not the Soto situation. It's different. This guy has a contract for years and years to come, and he's exceptionally good. I mean, he brings a lot of excitement. He'd be a fan favorite. He'd sell a shit ton of merchandise. And on top of that, he's just super dynamic. He's
Yeah.
super dynamic on both sides of the ball. So that's the guy that you'd have that conversation with. But I don't think there's really anybody that's been rumored that's available that would make sense for a Schlittler deal.
Yeah, and Schlittler, like, and this is pure speculation here, but obviously came up and, the phenomenal outing against the Red Sox, just really good start. But we don't know how much other teams value him. And
Mhm.
especially us Yankee fans, like, that start almost places him a notch above. Like,
Yeah,
that's an extra, almost value for us. So I'd be
right.
really shocked. I don't even think he's really going to get involved in trade talks.
I don't think
Um,
so either.
I guess the other starting pitching names that we've heard, Gore, Cabrera, or Alcantara, I guess any of the Marlins starting pitchers, any of them that really catch your eye?
I like Sandy. Look, I think Sandy becomes actually a real possibility if Bellinger comes back because Rachel Balkovic is over there with Miami. She knows the Yankee system extremely well.
Yes.
So for them to make a deal would not be hard. And I do believe, look, I've said for 2 years, I think Jason Dominguez gets traded. I'm not falling off of that yet. Now, again, I don't think they really have an option if Bellinger doesn't come back unless a Stephen Kwan is available and they pick him up and then just say, well, we'll send Dominguez and whatever else to Cleveland, the deal like that. But Sandy, he's not as popular as I think he should be in many ways. I'm a fan of Sandy. He had a really good second half. I
Yes.
predicted that at the deadline last year. I wanted the Yankees to trade for him. And everybody was saying, Pete, but he's terrible. And I said, look, I've actually watched a lot of his starts this year. It was more about coming off with a surgery and having command. His he was so wild and just so bad and missing so many times, and he's just missing spots left and right. And if you look at his splits, second half of the year, the command got better. His walks were down, hits were down. He was hitting his spots and becoming more of the guy that we've been used to before. And I like Sandy. I would never be mad if the Yankees made a deal like that and brought him here. But I think that also requires that they're very likely to then have brought Cody Bellinger back, or like I said before, they lose out on that and they end up making a deal for another left fielder, and then they just move Jason Dominguez in a deal for Sandy. But I think Dominguez headlining a package for Sandy, along with probably a pitching prospect and another name, would actually make a lot of sense for both teams.
I agree, and I kind of talked myself into Sandy since once I saw the club option, it became a lot more incentivizing because you're not, if it does go south, and if he does have a season like he's had the past, I guess, 2023 and 2025 because he missed
Yeah.
2024, but past two seasons he's played have not been great.
Yeah.
And if he does have that type of season, you don't really have to bring him back. It's only a $2 million buyout.
Yep.
So you're not committed to paying $21 million, which he's going to be owed next year. And yeah, you'd got to think that there's something left in the tank. I mean, this guy is, 31 or 30 years old here. He was a Cy Young in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty rare that even with Tommy John that those guys just go completely off the map. And a really good second half, that's very encouraging. So I think, yeah, especially this is kind of a move where if the Yankees were to sign Bellinger, I think this is where it starts to get pretty likely because at that point you're shopping either Dominguez or Jones. And I feel like that kind of slots in pretty good to the Marlins because a team like the Marlins, I mean, you could just have Dominguez go out. He could even play center field for them.
No doubt.
And it's not really like risk. And maybe you get a plus player. So you're kind of just letting him play.
Yeah, that's why I said it. It really does make a lot of sense. Even last year, I mean, hell, even last year made a lot of sense for both teams. And if they were to pick it up again and go right back to it, yeah, like you said, I think it does mean that they got another outfielder, whether it's Bellinger or somebody else. And then they do that because Dominguez would fit very well in Miami in the point of it's not going to be a platoon for him over there. It's going to be, hey, go out there and play baseball and be who you are. That's it. Go become the hitter that
Yeah.
many people have expected that you can be. And I'm pretty sure Rachel Balkovic, who I want to say did manage him, could very, very simply just say, look, I know what this guy's capable of. Come in here, there'd be a lot less pressure. Put him in that lineup every day, and I think we're gonna get a pretty productive ball player. And they've made good deals with the Yankees already. Of course, the Jazz deal is not far off from being completed from when they made that move. So makes sense. They got a Goose back. He's worked out well for them, and maybe they add another one.
Yeah. Pete, I got one more question for you here.
Yeah, please.
How do you envision the rest of this offseason going?
Woo!
Not what you want, but what do you envision happening over these next 2 months?
So tough, man. It's so tough because I always say it all the time. It's not a knock on anybody who's a little more optimistic. I'm just not overly optimistic as I have been in the past about the Yankees making moves. Do I think they do something? Yeah, I think they have to. As much as I love the idea of adding Imai to the rotation, I don't know if it happens. If somebody would ask me now, where's my confidence level from a 0 to a 10, 10 being the highest, I'm probably at like a 4.5, maybe a 4 in general.
Yeah.
I think the most logical move they make is Bellinger returns, but I think it's gonna get tough. I think it's gonna get tough. You got a lot of teams out there that are still willing to spend money. He seems like such a perfect fit for the Mets. I hate saying it, but
No,
it's like
they
another
traded
Yankee,
Nimmo away
right?
to make room for Cody Bellinger.
And then you even got first base over. I know they said Polanco playing a little bit of first, but Polanco's not a good defender at all, and Cody Bellinger is. And Bellinger, you can move around wherever. You can move Bellinger every single day. He's just that rare type of player in that regard that give you good defense wherever you're going to play him. So there is value to Bellinger. If somebody were to say, what do they do? I'd say, I think Bellinger, there's a chance he comes back. Does he price himself out? There's a real possibility there. But without naming names, I think they get an outfielder, a starting pitcher, and a reliever.
Yeah.
Who that is, I don't know. But I think they get another outfielder, a starting pitcher, and a relief pitcher before spring training begins.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance that, I guess it all depends on free agents, but we'll see a package, whether it's a Freddie Peralta and a reliever from the Brewers or something of that sorts.
Which would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So we'll see. Pete, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
You guys will be seeing more of Pete here on the channel. We've been doing some stuff on Instagram, collaborating. If you've seen the NYY Underground. And if you're in the stream, go hop on Pete's stream. He's about to go live at 9 o'clock. Pete, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
yeah, Yanks go sign someone.